guys, welcome back to my channel. And in this series we're going to be going over Uranus in the houses, okay? Uranus in the houses, and in this episode we're going to be talking about the fourth house. So having Uranus in your fourth house. And before we get into that, I just want to remind you guys to check out my music, okay? If you enjoyed the music in the beginning of this video, that is my music. Definitely check it out here on YouTube. All you have to do is type my name and it'll definitely pop up. All right, you can check me out on Spotify, Apple, and TikTok as well too. I definitely appreciate that. So yes, Uranus in the fourth house. And before we get into that, let's just dissect what Uranus is and what the fourth house is. Uranus in astrology is the planet of friends, acquaintances, associates, your fans, okay, networking, society at large, okay? Uranus rules group society, all of that. And there are other planets that deal with that too, like Venus and Mercury. You know, they deal with your friends and your associates. But with Uranus, what differentiates Uranus isn't as deep as Venus. You know, Venus would be more about your one-to-one relationship partners, okay? So your best friends, you know, your partners in crime. But Uranus, it could be as simple as, you know, hey, I collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards and so do you. So we have that together and maybe we're part of a club. So there goes the association. Uranus is not as deep and intimate as Venus. It doesn't deal with these one-to-one relationships. It deals with all these spontaneous associations with people. It doesn't have to be that deep. It could be someone as simple as an acquaintance, someone that you go to club with, you know. And, you know, you can say Mercury as well too. Mercury rules, you know, your friends, your associations as well. But Mercury deals with your community. So this is like your neighborhood, your neighbors, your siblings, you know, people who are very close in contact with you and represent your community. Uranus, however, takes it to the next step and it takes you outside of your community. So Uranus can represent your fans or your friends, your associates in terms of like your followers, and maybe your followers on Instagram or online, social media. Okay, very different from Mercury. Mercury deals with your community, but Uranus will take you outside of your community. Remember, Uranus is the planet of society at large. So it broadens your horizons, okay? Mercury keeps you local. So, you know, that is Uranus. And speaking of social media, okay, Uranus rules social media, okay? And, you know, they say that we're in the Aquarius age, okay? And that makes so much sense because social media is so big now. The internet, all of that is so big now. So it makes sense, you know, being that Uranus rules Aquarius and that we're in the Aquarius age and we're dealing with social media. But social media is definitely ruled by Uranus, okay? This is how we connect to society at large. This takes us beyond our borders and our community. You know, this is how we connect to people from other countries, from anywhere, as long as they have an association with us, you know? And it's not as deep, you know? Your followers, it's not deep. This is not even your best friend. You know, this is like an association. So again, this is Uranus, okay? Uranus rules social media, it rules society, it rules networking, all of that. But also when we talk about communication and connecting associates, we're also talking about the mind, okay? We use our mind to communicate. This is how we make all these connections. This is the basis of it. So Uranus rules our mind, okay? Just like Mercury, but what differentiates Uranus from Mercury is people like to say Uranus is like the higher mind, okay? But where Mercury rules our basic mind and basic mental functions, Uranus deals with that too, but it takes it to the next level of like thinking outside the box, okay? So whereas Mercury is about thinking within the box, understanding the formula, Uranus is about the mind that thinks outside the formula. It's about inventions, innovations, creating your own ideas, your own unique ideas, you know, rebelling against the formulas to create your own inventions, okay? This is how you become a genius. It's by inventing, creating, innovating your own new, unique ideas, okay? And this is why Uranus rules our mind, but the higher mind, because this is what makes you a genius. You know, it's one thing to be able to master a formula. It's another to be able to create your own. And while Mercury is mastering a formula, Uranus is creating your own formula. And also with that comes technology. Okay, technology is created through the mind, but what makes technology so unique is that it's not just a system and a function that you create, but it's a unique one. It's an invention. Uranus also rules electricity. If you look at all the new technologies, they all associate with electricity. They're all electrical, okay? Electricity is like the energy of Uranus, okay? It's that zapping, quick, fast energy. It advances society. And it's also shocking because, like I mentioned, when you're thinking outside the box, when you're creating your own new inventions, it also comes with controversy and things that are shocking and things that are different, okay? Because you're breaking the rules, you're going against the grain, and you can meet up with controversy. And when you think of electricity, electricity is very shocking, it's chaotic, okay? That's that Uranus energy. And then you have the fourth house. The fourth house deals with our family, okay? What we feel is home, okay? How we were nurtured by our parents, by our family, what we're emotionally used to, our emotional development. You know, our fourth house is going to determine a lot of our psychological and emotional issues and patterns in general. So this is how you connect to other people later in life. This is going to be all the undoings that you're going to have to do, shadow work. But it's a very emotional house, and it really sets the tone of your emotional security. So with that being said, the first thing I can say with Uranus in the fourth house, okay, these people have very chaotic families, okay? Their family dynamic can have been very chaotic in the sense that there were so many changes. Maybe you had a family that moved around a lot. There was no consistency. Maybe your family dynamic changed, you know, some people left and came. You had brothers or sisters and then they left and they changed, or, you know, your parents got divorced and then the family structure changed, and there's constant changes happening all the time. There's no consistency. And the fourth house actually likes consistency because, again, this is about emotional security. So with Uranus being here, it's causing a lack of consistency. Okay, so again, like, it could be very challenging, you know, to have Uranus in the fourth house because you're in a house that so much wants emotional security and consistency, and you're dealing with Uranus causing so many inconsistencies, so much changes in the family. It could cause trauma, okay? It can cause, you know, this sense of like, I can't trust anything. I have no emotional security, okay? So definitely a big deal when it comes to Uranus in the fourth house. Lots of chaos, and it can cause, you know, a strong detachment because when you have so many inconsistencies in a family, there's nothing really to attach to because there's nothing consistent going on. So you develop a soul that doesn't really rely on the typical way you would look at emotional security, which is stability and consistency. Okay, these people are pretty detached because they've dealt with so many inconsistencies. But this stuff could be traumatic. You know, I'm going to be real. You know, Uranus in the fourth house, you know, all these changes, you know, all these inconsistencies can be quite traumatic, you know, because like I said, you don't have a strong emotional foundation because there's so many changes constantly going. Another thing with Uranus in the fourth house is that you can have a very unique family. So something very unconventional about your family dynamic, okay? Whatever it could be, you know, maybe, you know, you're raised, you know, you don't have, you know, parents. Maybe you're raised by, you know, your aunts or people who aren't connected to your family. Maybe the relationship dynamic between your parents is very unique and different one. You know, there's something going to be very unique about your family dynamic, something that isn't the typical family dynamic, you know, and it's unique, you know, it's different. And it can make you feel like, damn, my family's so weird. Like, this is like not the typical like family dynamic at all. Like, you know, it can be weird, but it can also, like, you know, just open people's minds to a different sort of family, you know, and let everyone know that, hey, families can have different dynamics and things could be different and unique, but something will definitely be very unique about your family dynamic with Uranus. And like I said, that could be trauma too. That can lead into the chaosness of it. You know, this is chaotic. This isn't new. Like, we're the family in the block that's so different, and you know, not the typical structure you would have. So it could lead into chaos as well too. But it could just be simply having a unique family structure and being open to unique family structures. So with Uranus in the 4th house, there could have been a lack of nurture, okay, from the family, lack of emotional support. You know, Uranus is a very mental planet, okay, so it's not dealing with your emotions, it's dealing with your mind. You know, so when we put this all together, Uranus energy, all this chaos, changes, uniqueness, you know, unconventional things happening, there's also a lack of emotional energy. You know, people like this could develop very detached emotions, okay? Picking back again to the chaos. You know, not having your typical structures, always things changing, having such a different family, having so many changes, you know, it just makes you detached. You don't have emotional attachment because you don't have consistency. So these people aren't so strongly connected to their emotions. Even the way your mother could have nurtured you, or whoever was the nurturer, could have been your father too, just your family dynamic. There wasn't a lot of attention to your emotions, okay? Things were very mental. It's like Uranus. Things were about mental things. Things weren't about, you know, your feelings and things that are personal. I mean, how do you even have the opportunity to get emotional and personal when things are constantly changing? Okay? Things are constant, like, you know, the rug is constantly being pulled right under your feet, constantly with all these changes. So the family dynamic could have been a lot more mental. It could have been about the ideas that you've had, or the ideas that, you know, your parents had for you, or what they taught you, what they teach you. But it was more mental. It wasn't emotional, okay? It wasn't about caring and nurturing so much. There is a lack of nurture and care and emotion when you have Uranus in the 4th house. And like I said, again, this creates a person who isn't going to need so much emotional attachment because of their family dynamics and the type of family that they were raised in. Okay, so emotions are not at the top priority. Everything's about mental. Everything's about ideas. You know, that's what Uranus is into. You gotta think about it. If you're raised in a family where things are constantly changing, people are coming and going, you know, nothing is consistent, there's no reason to attach to anything. What it does is it nurtures you to be to not attach to anything, because anything can change. You know, so that's the big thing with Uranus in the 4th house, is there could be a strong emotional attachment. In fact, what they're connected to is change, is innovation, is things constantly being different. You know, so definitely a thing, but it definitely can cause psychological issues, because like I said, we all have a soul, we all have emotions that we have to nurture and go into. And because of the way you were nurtured with Uranus in the 4th house, it could be a scary place to get into. You're so detached from them. So definitely be mindful of that. Also, you know, speaking about having, you know, a unique family, your family could have been very inventive, okay? So yeah, there's not a lot of emotional nurture, you know, in the family, but they could have been very inventive, you know. Again, the family dynamic's very unique, but family could have had amazing ideas. You know, Uranus is the sign of like society and seeing how you can advance society, how you can contribute to this world, okay? It's more about the bigger picture, bigger ideas. So, you know, yes, there wasn't a lot of emotional nurture in your family, but there was a lot of push to be a humanitarian, to think of the world at large. Maybe lots of like societal, social conscious conversations going in within the family, okay? It's a very mental type of family, and a very forward-thinking one, and a very inventive family. Also with Uranus in the 4th house, this can be like friends over family, okay? These people, because for any reason, maybe because their family was so detached that they've learned to create emotional bonds and a sense of family with their friends. You know, it's like, I can't get here in my family, so I'm gonna find it with my friends. Uranus being the sign of friends, in the house of family, you know, you made your friends your home. You know, you reinvented your family. You know, your family could have been so chaotic, so detached, so inconsistent that you're like, hey, if I'm going to create a family or a sense of home, it has to be in my will, my power. I have to invent it myself. So these people can use their friends to become their family. They see their friends as family. You know, their associates, their acquaintances, they go outside of their family for family, okay? This is, again, the detachment. And almost even rejecting your family. You know, you could just reject your family and be like, hey, you know, this is where I feel a sense of home in, you know, in this group. You know, also with Uranus in the 4th house, you can feel really at home in something unique and weird, okay? Like, what makes you feel at home is something different, something unique, something that isn't, you know, familiar. You know, because so much of your life, like I said, growing up was so unfamiliar, so many changes. What makes you feel at home is being in a sense of place that's unique, something that's weird, something that's different, something that isn't familiar. That unfamiliarness excites you and it emotionally stimulates you because that's what you're used to. So things that are too consistent, too homey is boring for Uranus, a 4th house person. Their sense of home and peace and emotional security is in the unfamiliarness, is in things that are different, unique, and odd situations. And as odd as that sounds, it's not for them because this is what they were raised in. So yes, that is Uranus in the 4th house. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It's a very complex placement, okay? Uranus is such opposite of the home. It's so different and causes so much chaos. But at the same time, it creates an inventive person, someone who's inventive when it comes to their family and their home and their sense of nurture. Very unique placement, very different, but it can be very chaotic. It's not an easy placement. You know, Uranus is not necessarily at home in the house of home in the 4th house. So very, very chaotic. Be careful about your emotions, okay? And not being able to connect to them because of how you were nurtured growing up. Still do that emotional nurture to yourself, and don't forget that that is still important, okay? Regardless of where you create your family with your friends or your groups or whatever, understand that nurture and care is important, okay? And you're just here as a Uranus and 4th house person to create a unique way of it. All right, so that is Uranus in the 4th house. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if you did, book a reading with me. I do astro readings as well as tarot. You just have to email me and we could go forward with that. Also, check out my music, my videos. All the links will be in the description box below. And I'll check you guys out on the next video.